You know, I've actually played a lot of pretty good games lately. I'm not really sure what it is that I want to play next. Death by degrees. I thought I'd put this game behind me, but I guess I'll play it for old time's sake. It stars Nina Williams from the Tekken series games, but it really does not play like a Tekken game. I already beat this game once, like 5 or 6 years ago, so I'm going to try a second playthrough. Right off the bat, I can say I am really impressed with the graphics. All of the cutscenes take full advantage of the graphic quality of the PlayStation 2. In fact, all of the cutscenes are really well done. Since this is a spin-off game, I wasn't expecting it to get nearly as much support as it did, but you can tell they went through a lot of effort to make sure that it actually looked good. They don't really give you a lot of backstory about how Nina Williams became a CIA agent and involved in this mission, but the plot actually has a lot of potential. The major events in this game all circle around the stories and the lore and mystery of the Bermuda Triangle. They even specifically mention Flight 19, which is a true story about military aircraft in 1945 that went missing in the Bermuda Triangle. In fact, one of the search airplanes looking for lost Flight 19 went missing too. It really is a mysterious story. Nina's role in this game is to be a sweeper, which is a fancy way of saying she kicks everyone's ass and destroys just about everything that gets in her way. Then she kicks a few more asses just for good measure. Yeah, she's fucking unstoppable. She doesn't just kick people's asses, she has to solve puzzle after puzzle after puzzle. Ugh. This game feels a lot like an early Resident Evil game. You have a large map to explore, there's plenty of locked doors that are going to require something to get through them, and unusual obnoxious camera angles that change on their own. But before you get to experience the full catastrophe of a camera system, you'll find out about this game's unique combat system. Pretty often, you're gonna find yourself completely surrounded by enemies that all want to gang beat you to death. You can attack in any direction, which is a good thing because you are always in a 360-degree clusterfuck. When you spam the right stick in a direction, kinda like in Smash Brothers, Nina will just start kicking the shit out of the area. But your enemies are always dodging and hopping around, so you just have to keep spamming away. Doing this with the left stick will let you evade so you can get out of the way, or you'll do some crazy-ass Matrix shit. You can also hop right over someone and kick them in the back of the dome, but with how much you, the camera, and the enemies are moving, it can be hard to get the control stick at the right angle. Starting to see why it's called Death by Degrees. You're always fighting in a 360-degree circle of pain. You know, it actually kind of reminds me of that old NES game, Smash TV. But back then, all you had was a D-pad and an A and a B button. Plus, the camera was locked. Good luck trying to figure out what's going on here. You can, of course, unlock more skills as you progress. Some of these moves look pretty intimidating to learn. Nobody really likes having to memorize this shit, not even in a Tekken game. But you gotta start somewhere, so let me take a look. L1, smack the L stick, R1, lightly tap right. How many of these do I have to memorize? Fuck me. It's also worth pointing out that you can grab enemies, snap their necks, put them in submission holes, break their arms. And if you use that L2 button, you can zoom in and then shatter their skull or bust open their rib cage. This does major damage, but it depletes the focus gauge, so I usually save that for bosses. These guys are so badass though, you can break every bone in their body, but they don't give a shit. Look at him, he's still good to go to sword fight. Don't let your lack of skeletal structure slow you down, buddy. You can still feel free to use this against regular enemies. It is a great way to thin out the herd. Shit, what was that combo again? 1L... Fuck. Or... Shit. Got this guy alone. Let's try this one more time. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, got you, bitch. You can also pick up weapons that are crucial to your survival. Pistols, assault rifles, railguns. Plus battering weapons, too, like tonfas or katanas. You can even find the Manji sword, which is Yoshimitsu's blade from the Tekken series. That's some serious product placement, NAMCO. Me likey. There's actually quite a bit of that in this game. You see posters for Tekken 3 and 4 and pictures of Julia Chang. This game even came with a demo disc for Tekken 5. Because this is a second playthrough, I have access to this garment bag, which lets me change whatever I'm wearing whenever I want. If I complete the game again, I guess I get a wrestling outfit, and if you get a 5-star rating, I've heard that you get to unlock Nina's Tekken 2 model, but that's really asking a lot from somebody. Even without the garment bag, you end up seeing 4 of Nina's outfits. As the game progresses and she gets her ass kicked by enemies, her clothes just start getting ripped off until she has to try on something new. It's kind of an interesting feature for the game to have. A lot of people are going to say, yeah, it's just some shameless fan service, but it does actually provide a little bit of variety. There's a lot more to this game than just button mashing and bouncing boobs, though. There are puzzles everywhere. You actually have to use your brain. Some of these honeycomb puzzles are pretty hard later in the game, and unlocking weapon caches lets you grab a few extra items that'll definitely come in handy. I'm actually pretty glad when I find one of these puzzles, because it gives me a break from fighting with the camera. Let me explain how this game's camera works. Like in Resident Evil, there are predetermined camera angles that repeatedly change as you walk through an area. But unlike Resident Evil, Nina walks in the direction you're pushing the left stick. It's not uncommon for the camera to change by 180 degrees, so if you were moving up to start with, and the camera changes, now you might be moving left or right, or down, but you're still holding up on the control stick. As soon as you let go though, it resets itself, so up is up again. If that sounded confusing to you, imagine trying to sort this shit out on the edge of a camera point while getting attacked by 5 or 6 fucking guys. You want to just run somewhere in the middle of the screen so that the camera won't change, but you can't because you just keep getting your ass kicked. And this is a problem throughout the game. There is a secondary camera mode. If you hold the R2 button, the camera can be freely moved with the right stick. You're always running, but you can't attack. You can lock onto enemies with this too, but it doesn't stay locked on very long. The secondary camera system actually feels really natural. If there was a way to enable attacking while doing it, it would have been perfect. So why the hell didn't they make this the default system to start with? I can see why it doesn't really jive with that whole 360-degree combat system, but that system's fucked anyways because of how bad the camera is. If you're kicking left 1 second and then you're kicking up the next and you're pushing the same direction on the controller, it's hard to hit an opponent. Did they even playtest this shit? You end up getting your ass kicked more than you deserve. But luckily your enemies drop these meal kits that give you back your health. But even using them can be a challenge. They really fucked up the menu screen. It feels like my PS2 is pinging a satellite and waiting for a response. The map screen's even worse. It has to load each floor individually, so if you're trying to find a certain area on the map, grab a beer, because it's going to take a while. It feels like everything has a load time, even common events like interacting with objects or picking up items. Going through doors, it takes minutes to pass through just a couple of them. Even if you know that you forgot something, you don't want to backtrack just because of how much time you spend staring at a loading screen. You might even die a couple times because of the loading. Look at this room. I open the door, I think I have time, so I grab my drink, and then BAM! It drops 2 guys in the room already kicking my ass. When you find a cutscene, you have to load it first. Sometimes you even have to load a cutscene inside a cutscene. Why didn't it just load both of them the first time? Since you never know how that camera's gonna handicap you, it is important to save. But you can't just save anywhere. Oh no, that'd be way too easy. You gotta find the hidden save areas when you see this phone signal indicator. but you can only do it whenever you have full service, so you just gotta wander around until you find the save area. I guess I should take care of that right now. Alright, let's get back to it. Even though this game did mess up a lot of fundamental ideas, it does have several redeeming factors. Pretty early in the game, you get a fingerprint scanner that you can use on dead bodies and all kinds of objects that people touch. As you collect fingerprints, you can use them to access areas or get extra items, and there's a lot of them to collect. I really like this feature because it rewards you for going out of your way to do something extra, and the animation is pretty cool to watch too. There are also plenty of gold coins to find. They basically tell you it's a mystery what they're for, and even after beating the game, I'm not 100% clear on what their purpose is. I looked online and I didn't find a definitive answer. Some people say you get to start with defibrillators, other people said that it unlocks weapons or outfits. I found about 24 of those coins on my own, but who really knows what they do at this point? At least it keeps you busy. You know, it's actually a really good way to describe this game. All of the puzzles, the backtracking, hunting down pointless items, it's all busy work. But I guess all video games are meant to kill time, so mission accomplished, I guess. The beginning of this game is pretty slow, but I have to admit, it is addicting. The story develops slowly, but it gives you enough time to digest it. Eventually you'll get to babysit Lucas Hayes, who does provide some comic relief.
I'll give you 30% off!
This game's not afraid to have fun with itself, too.
Oh, man, I shouldn't have had those burritos.
Just a sec. Can't leave my old man's watch behind.
Guy in prison doesn't want to leave his father's watch? Is that a Pulp Fiction joke? The watch actually ends up being pretty important, but they don't really explain the backstory about it. It's strange that they don't fill you in on this, because you find files everywhere, even ones on how to cook rats. It's the minced garlic that really brings out the flavor. But it would have been nice to have found a file that at least fills in some of the blanks. You do get a little bit of an alternate history about Nina and her sister Anna. If you're a hardcore Tekken fan, you might find this interesting. They usually bring you to one of these flashbacks by having Nina get hit with some kind of drug or poison, but then you get to see what happened to Nina Williams when she was just little Nina Williams. She's so cute when she's scarred for life. I'm gonna assume that the zombies are just a side effect of the acid trip, though.
Daddy?
These scenes are all pretty creepy, especially the one you do inside of Lana Lay's fucked up world. What are these things doing? There are some variety to the enemies that you'll face. Start by rubbing your feet in some pretty standard guys' faces. But they'll step you up to fighting martial artists and the Tekken Force soldiers pretty quickly. Eventually you'll even have to fight the cyborgs, and maybe even a few transformers. Most enemies have standard attacks, but some have batons and swords. These cyborgs have flamethrowers and grenade launchers. And planking? It's kind of like, oh look, an enemy. If you ever have your fill of kicking enemies' asses, you can always take a break to show your appreciation for art by smashing some priceless faces.
Lucas,
Most of the fights can get very repetitive, so it is a good thing that they split up the monotony with these puzzles. I actually really liked guiding Lucas through the maze using a few broken cameras. Plus, you'll be able to impress your friends with your knowledge of nautical signal flags. These honeycomb locks can be fun too. They take a little bit of getting used to, but you can get pretty good at them after a while. What do we got here? Oh, is that a Magnum? Yeah, I guess I can get rid of a shotgun for that. It's just a 9mm. Worthless. You know, after a while, that's kind of a common problem in this game. You just stop reading the description, because it should just tell you the name. Whenever you pick up an item and you have room for it, it just tells you what it is. But if you don't, you have to read that little blurb, and It's just a lot of work. Great, more enemies. May as well use up that 9mm so I can get it out of my inventory. Why haven't I ran out of ammo yet? I have infinite ammo! That's fucking awesome! Would have been nice if they'd labeled it a little bit better. I could have walked right past this. I only picked it up because I mistook it for a 44 Magnum. Same time, not too pissed. I have infinite ammo! Yeah, take this, assholes. You know, I almost feel like the bad guy here. I just walk up and unload my gun. I don't even have to reload. Somebody wants to drink from the fire hose! I guess this is one of those perks of it being a second playthrough, which is a really nice feature. But if you're on your first time through the game, it sucks to be you. Even though I have a lot of these awesome weapons, I'm still going to try to play a lot of it the old-fashioned way. But if I play this a third time, oh yeah, it's easy street for me. I have to give the level designers a lot of credit. Even though you spin the game mainly in two areas, the way they meticulously laid out the puzzles is pretty impressive. When you return to the Amphitrite, you find out that there's still a whole lot of the map left to discover. I really have to give these guys a bravo Zulu, which is how sailors say, well done. I told you that nautical signal flag knowledge would come in handy. Another cool feature about the maps was that they included a few areas that you could use a small drone to explore. Back in 2005, that was a really cool idea. I never would have guessed that these things would be actually available someday. One thing that's weird though is that the camera follows the Stingray. The screen is all staticky like we're looking through a camera, so why isn't it just a first-person perspective? It probably makes steering this thing easier too. Another nice touch is that you find this guy looking for something in the shelves early in the game. It's very subtle, but much later you actually get to find what he was looking for. It's something small, but it's things like this that let you know they didn't just make this game up as they were going along. They had a cohesive plan the entire time. Although I also noticed that when you come back to the ship, the glass by the bar is back to normal, after it had clearly gotten shot up. Who knows, maybe they made repairing that glass a priority. But picking up dead bodies in the executive hallway, that can wait. This game's a real mixed bag. The story's surprisingly good, but the camera is worst case scenario. The puzzle aspects are kind of fun, but the combat is tedious and too frequent. The graphics look great, but the music is way too repetitive. I really hated this game when I started playing it. After I beat it, I thought it was okay. But my overall memory from the last time I played the game was pretty poor. Maybe that's the best way to describe this game. Not memorable. If you're a huge fan of the Tekken series, this game might be an interesting curiosity to you. But to the casual gamer, this game requires an investment to beat it, and it's not one you're going to enjoy.